Hi, welcome to Film Fiend. My name is Seb, and today I'm reviewing Shelby Oaks. So this is a film by definition. So Shelby Oaks is written and directed by Chris Stuckman, the famed YouTube reviewer. And I should say before I get into this that I am a fan of his. He's good at what he does. I do like his content, although it has become a bit watered down over the years. And I think most people in this space have at one time or another been a fan, or at least have found themselves having respect for what he does, especially as he was one of the front runners of this type of content. That being said, I have to be totally truthful and give my honest opinion on his film. I'm not going to tread lightly around it or sugarcoat my thoughts on it like I think a lot of people in this space have. So, unfortunately, I think Stuckman proves that just because you have a passion for something and are knowledgeable about it doesn't mean that you yourself can create something of worth in that same medium. Because, regrettably, Shelby Oaks is simply not a good film. It's derivative, unoriginal, inconsistent, and at times almost completely incoherent. The main problem with this film is the writing. Stuckman is evidently not a writer. The script is just not very good. The plot is the most generic and derivative cookie cutter type plot possible, and the character work is basically non existent. He attempts to give the protagonist some personality and dimensionality early on with a scene where she and her husband have a contentious conversation about having a child. But there's nothing substantial or endearing in the writing, with nothing that allows the audience an avenue to actually care about the characters, and it doesn't help that the actors have absolutely no chemistry. Also, there's a lack of continuity across certain scenes, making it feel incoherent and giving it a stitched together quality. The pieces don't fit cohesively, and you can definitely tell that it's been shuffled around in the edit. For me, this lack of writing skills is most evident and demonstrable in a pivotal scene towards the end, where a ritual of sorts is taking place. And it's obviously intended to be a shocking and impactful scene where the intentions of an antagonist are illuminated, but it's just so incoherently and messily written, it just makes for a confusing experience. Absolutely nothing is elucidated, and this moment lacks any kind of impact due to the nonsensical dialogue. It's just all a bit hard to grasp onto. None of the dialogue allows you an in, keeping you at arm's length throughout, and I really dislike when you don't feel aligned or in harmony with the script. It creates a discordant feeling where you never feel settled or simpatico with the film. And I get the sense that Stuckman just didn't know where he wanted to go with this script, so the dialogue just kind of meanders along in an unfocused manner in the third act until you get a totally lackluster reveal that Stuckman probably thought was a surprising rug pull type moment, but for me was just eye-rollingly trite. This evident lack of a unique vision and trajectory and direction for the story is even more disappointing for me, given the fact that I was actually quite enjoying the first 20 minutes or so. The setup is initially intriguing with the found footage mockumentary style intro, and I thought the opening credits sequence was really well edited. The film is also well shot for the most part, the lighting is pretty good, and some of the sets and locations are really cool. It's not like it's badly directed either. Stuckman does manage to cultivate a palpable atmosphere for the first third of this film, and there's also a few effective jump scares. So he obviously does have an eye for some of this stuff and could have a future as a decent enough director. He just needs to let someone else take the reins when it comes to the script. However, unfortunately, despite the promising and fairly alluring setup, it quickly devolves into something that resembles a totally generic, trope-ridden mediocrity fest with basically no redeeming qualities that doesn't amount to anything. There's absolutely no payoff, no saving grace, and the folkloric aspects are just too oblique and unintentionally ambiguous to have any kind of impact. Also, after the opening scenes, it's not at all scary, which would maybe be okay if the central mystery was compelling or interesting or unique, but it isn't. So there's absolutely no USP, it has no rewatchability, and fails at justifying its own existence. I really don't know what possessed Stuckman to develop this project. It was crowdfunded as well, so I kind of feel bad for the people who actually gave money to it. I don't know what he thought would set it apart or make it a worthwhile endeavour. And in this day and age, you've really got to make your mark with a debut feature, especially with the plethora of really great debuts we've got in recent years from first-time filmmakers, like, for example, the Philippo brothers' Talk to Me or Rose Glass's Saint Maud. Now, don't get me wrong, I am aware that there's many factors that go into making a film, like the budget and production quality and stuff. But what it comes down to really is the quality of the work itself. The script and overall idea are the most important things, and I think Stuckman just didn't do the best job in that regard. So overall, this film just doesn't work, and in the end, it amounts to the most vapid, average, and pointless thing you could imagine. There's just nothing worthwhile about it. It's just totally unremarkable and forgettable. So sorry, Chris. Better luck next time, I guess. Also, I should say that I don't enjoy being really reductive about films. I don't like get off on being negative about them like I think a lot of people in this space sometimes gravitate towards doing. Um, but I think it's because, I'm a film lover, and a lot of people who complain about certain aspects of films or the film industry itself, it's because they love film and they want it to be as great as possible, and they just feel let down when something is not that good. And it is kind of surprising how someone like Stuckman, with a lot of knowledge, could churn out something that just was so generic. I mean, even though it's fairly competently put together in terms of the quality of the cinematography and some of the production design and stuff, it just amounts to nothing. It's just so generic and has no rewatchability, and I can't imagine anyone really cares about it. I feel like people are carrying water for it, maybe because they just feel like they have to because they're in the same space as Stuckman. But yeah, I just thought I'd caveat this review with that. So that was my review of Shelby Oaks. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.